I'd like to say welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Tony Hollis Live Talk Show Testify. Okay, we're going to pick back up on some policing that continue to go, shall we say, south in Osceola. I do have a special guest on today, former police chief out of the city of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Going to have him on where he can explain to us exactly from a police perspective in terms of protecting, serving, policies, and that sort of thing as it relates to some things that has been going on in Osceola. And so I do have my guests on, and so you all sit tight. We will be coming back, and we will be getting this show started, okay? So please sit tight. Please understand that Testify is a podcast created with the intended purpose to share information with the communities. Any and all comments and expression are those of the guests and viewers and not the host of Testify. Former Chief Virgil Green from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And I'm going to have him on today. He will be sitting with us, explaining to us from a police perspective. He's been doing this job for a pretty good while. And so it would have been great if I could have had some law enforcement people here in this city, in this county, to speak to me, but for so many times they always decline. Okay, and so I have to look outside the state. But before I begin to allow my guests to speak, I want to say that there will be a lot of things going on in the city, the county, Osceola and Blythe. Michael Millerbrooks, who is a candidate for state representative, District 34, wanted me to pass on a message to you that come Saturday, he will, May 2nd, May 2nd, I think I wrote it down. That'll be at 200 North 5th Street. He will be having another town hall meeting from 12 o'clock noon to 1:30 p.m. And on that same day, he will be going to Osceola, Arkansas. That meeting starts at 6 o'clock and lasts until 7:30. It will be 100 East Main at Circle V Restaurant. Okay, again, Blytheville, 200 North 5th Street from 12 noon to 1:30. And then Osceola, 6 o'clock p.m. to 7:30 p.m. 100 East Main. It'll be at the Circle V Restaurant. Okay? So we got that out of the way. So now I want to allow my guests to speak to you a little bit about exactly who he is and what he has been doing for the last few decades in law enforcement, that is. And so I'm going to allow him to take this moment to go ahead and introduce himself. Former Chief Virgil Green. How you doing, sir?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good, Mr. Hollis. How you doing?
All right.
Well,
So just talk to us a little bit about, exactly, give us a snapshot of your resume in regards to, uh, you know, public servant, that is, as a law enforcement officer.
yeah, okay. Well, first of all, appreciate it and thank you for reaching out to
Oh, no
ask me
problem.
to be a guest on your podcast. Always a pleasure.
Hmm.
So my name is Virgil Green. I've been in law enforcement for over 30 years. Been a police chief for 26 of those years in Oklahoma, Arkansas. I spent a number of years as a police chief in Helena, West Helena, and
Uh-huh.
came back to Oklahoma. And just as recently, I was a police chief in the Minneapolis Twin Cities area. First black police chief in the history of a city called Golden Valley, Minnesota.
Okay.
Was not expecting to go that far north because I do not like the cold weather. But it was definitely an opportunity to make history, being the first black police chief in the history of a city that is predominantly well over 89% white, and for them to select the first black police chief. So, and did that for about 4 years, and now I'm back in Oklahoma, looking for another opportunity to become a police chief.
Also, you're looking again to walk into the next position as police chief. Well, I think I
Yeah.
had spoke to you back here uh, a while ago. Was that why don't you come back and try to give Osceola another shot? And so, if you yet looking for another job, hopefully some city council members in the mirror is looking right now.
Well,
You know.
we'll see.
All right.
Again, I'm still young, Mr. Hollis. I'm only 62, so
All right.
I got a few gray hairs, but I can still consider myself to be, a good person to lead a police department because it's all about leadership
Right.
and how you can advance police department, and that's what I've done over the past 26 years is to be able to uh, come into police departments to see how it can enhance the police operation and improve community relations,
Uh-huh.
and so that's always been my goal, and very passionate about being a public servant.
Well, all right then. Now, what I really want to do, we're going to talk about two issues. We're going to try to, like as they say, kill two birds with one stone. We're
Okay.
going to talk about, mostly we're going to talk about the young man, the video that went viral with the
Yeah.
police chief, ex-police chief. I think he was, I don't know, right at about week and a half, 2 weeks, somewhere in there on the job, to where he slapped a black man who was confined to a wheelchair. And so we're going to speak a little bit about that, as what has been done, what possibly will be done, hopefully, in terms of bringing some type of charges. And so we're going to, just get into that in a little bit. But right
Okay.
now, let's go and I want to show this video of the latest incident in Osceola with a deputy sheriff. Uh, I think a deputy sheriff who uh, pulled his weapon on a uh, young white female and a young black male, uh, and it was pretty horrific. And so we're gonna allow you to the audience, that is, allow them to see that, and we're gonna come back and we're gonna pretty much give our input on it.
Okay.
Okay,
All right. Sounds good.
so let's go ahead and push it over now.
Whole girl in here, bro.
Stop, y'all.
I got a girl in here, bro. Bro, don't shoot me, bro.
Just roll the window down. Just roll the,
Hey, bro,
roll the window
I ain't
down.
got no gun in here.
Roll the window down.
Hands up.
Bro, I don't got. Look, I don't got no gun in here, bro. I'm letting my window down, bro. I don't got no
Kill you right
gun.
here, boy.
Bro, I don't got no. Let me put my car in park.
Unlock the
My
door.
car ain't in park, bro.
Get that on your face. On your face. Stay in the back. Oh my God, oh my fucking God.
Do not move and put that phone down. Is there anything in that car, gun lines or anything that you know of?
No, I just got
Do
in the
you
car.
got anything on you?
No.
Do you have an ID?
No, I don't.
You don't have an ID. Who are you?
I have a driver license though, but it's not on me. Alexis Miller,
And how old are you?
20.
Okay, Alexis Miller.
Pretty short video.
What's your date of birth?
09-2905.
09
2905.
29.
Oh my God.
14, that's all. Yeah, I'm at an Alexis Miller. 92905.
Okay.
All right. So let me get rid of this. So that pretty much was the incident that occurred out at out at a Jordan gas station convenience store slice business, and so talk to us from a policy perspective. There's one or two other videos that are out there, that show a little bit more where she was laying down on the ground, and at that point, she had a gun pointed toward her body while she was stretched out, hands stretched in front of her, and her feet, kicked downward, face down. And she didn't appear to have any weapons or anything like that.
Okay.
And so, just talk to us. When should an officer have his weapon in this particular case, where he can physically see a woman who is no threat, don't possess a weapon? At what point is he to, put away his weapon? Because his weapon had been drawn.
Okay. Yeah. So, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. One of the, I think the main thing is to look at what was the threat. Was there a threat that officer, felt that these persons in that vehicle may have had a weapon? You did hear him ask this person, or the two occupants in the car, if they had any weapons, and I think I overheard the male say that he did not have any weapons in the car.
Okay.
And so you don't know, what was the reason. This didn't appear to be a traffic stop. It appeared that the individual was already in the parking lot at this convenience store, and this sheriff deputy, came upon this vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So, to get into the mind of that deputy, you really don't know. And also, I want to point out, it didn't appear that the deputy had any kind of body-worn camera on him. It
Okay.
appeared that everything that was recorded was from a person's cell phone. And so, and Mr. Hollis, this is a dangerous job that we do, but at the same time, you have to be able to articulate why you felt that you need to pull your weapon out. And a lot of that goes into, what is your agency's policy? What does the policy permit you to do and doesn't permit you to do? And so, again, it didn't appear that this deputy had felt that his life was in danger. Now, he could have said, yeah, I felt my life was in danger. But at the same time, when you pull your weapon out on unarmed people, that really heightens the situation.
Okay. So, did you see anything to where thank you for those remarks. I've spoken to this young lady who was on the ground, and she stated that how she was very terrified. I mean, to live through that, then not
Yeah,
knowing whether she was going to even make it through that.
yeah.
Uh, I know you're not an attorney, but have in situations like this here over your years of working as a public servant police officer, uh, if you saw this tape right now and this was one of your police officers, would you feel a need to speak to this person? And if so, uh, what would you say? Because there's two components here. One was a racial component. He called the young man
I
a
think
boy.
I heard him say boy. Yeah,
And he then, I think behind that, he told him that he would kill him.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so I'm kind of wondering what is going on in this deputy mind for him to feel that he needed to say that,
Yeah. Well, and I'll say this, Mr. Hollison, to those who are listening. I think, we've seen incidents across the country where police officers have definitely went too far, especially in how they're um, interacting with black men and black women. And it comes down to, the tone. It comes down to just overall treatment of how black men and black women are being treated by police officers across the country. You cannot escape that because you see it every single day. And you saw it in that video. You've seen it in what happened with George Floyd. You recently just saw it. What happened up in New York with
Right.
two police officers, literally beating a man who had nothing to do with what they were there with the investigation that they were conducting. And so, in this situation, I think you asked me the question: if I was in this situation, what would I do? And I think the first thing is to open up an investigation. Number one, just like, as I mentioned before, everything kind of goes back to your agency's policy. What does your policy say when should you pull out your weapon, and when you should point your weapon at a person? And so, to me, anytime a weapon comes out of the holster, whether it's a firearm or a taser, there should.
Hmm.
An internal affairs investigation
Uh-huh.
into, and that internal affairs investigation would look at what is the agency's policies, get a statement from the officer, talk to the witnesses, or talk to the people that were arrested, or talk to anybody to gather additional information. But like I said before, not seeing a body worn camera on that deputy, uh, it doesn't that deputy doesn't have anything other than, you know, to say, hey, this is what I thought was going on. He doesn't have there's no body cam video footage to show that protects really him. And I want to make that clear, is that body worn cameras are there to protect the officer and the citizens.
Right.
It,
It's a two-way street.
it's
In
a
other
two-way
words.
street, exactly. You know, because you may have, give an example. What we just saw, if let's say, those two individuals said that this deputy used a bunch of racial slurs, and now all of a sudden you've got, a lot of people upset, and now, you got a body worn camera video footage that's going to show that never happened. And so if somebody says, hey, we don't have body worn cameras, I don't see why in 2026 that every police department across this country, small or rural, should have body worn cameras on their officers.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, um, most of our municipal police departments here in Mississippi County do have body cams. It's just our Arkansas State troopers, they have what is called a dash cam,
Dash cam. Yeah.
as well as our sheriff department. They have dash cam.
Dash cam.
But there is no body cams in terms of when they come into interaction with the police department. I mean, with citizens.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, because if the dash cam is out of range, for its position,
Right.
I mean, you can hear the sound. You're always gonna hear the sound.
Yeah.
But it's how the car is, is positioned
Position.
or whatever. Because if you're not standing directly in front of the dash cam on the vehicle, you hear what's going on, but you don't see
don't see it.
anything. And for
Yeah,
some
you don't
reason,
see it.
Sheriff Cook is our sheriff. Been sheriff for a pretty good. I think this is third term, I believe, serving as sheriff for our county. And I have been going back and forth with him over the years about body cams. Unfortunately, he continued to be hardcore, saying that they're not needed. But I just thank God that my police chief here, he's retired now, Ross Thompson, and him and I had some real back and forth. Some good, some bad. But what I'm saying is that I would think that he would be the more difficult one to work with when it comes to body cam. But in fact, he was more willing
Yeah.
as opposed to the sheriff.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously, this police chief in the city that you're in, I want to say, what is it, Blytheville?
Right.
That you definitely see that this is something that protects the officers, protects the community. And because if there anything that happens, now you're able to go back and review that body cam footage. Okay. And so, again, it is something there that is needed, especially in law enforcement. In the environment that we're in, there's no, people can say, well, we don't need it. We have in-car cameras. And like you mentioned, that in-car camera is only going to show
what's in front of it.
What's in front of you. It's not, I mean, if you get out of camera view, you can only have audio.
Yeah.
You're not going to have any video.
Yeah.
And so, again, body-worn cameras have been proven to very important in investigations. And so, again, I just can't stress the importance of having that tool on you to protect the officer and also protect the citizens. And so, but getting back to your question, my thing would be, again, is to open up an investigation as to why this officer felt the need to pull out his firearm and conduct that to see if there's any violations of any policy. And if there is any violations of any policy, how do you proceed to deal with that? And if it's not any violation of policy, then you release that information to the public. And so the main thing that I've always said, Mr. Hollis, and to those who are listening, is that in this position, being a leader of a police department, you need to be very transparent with the public, good or bad. Mm-hmm. You need to be transparent with the public because you never want to lose the trust of the citizens that you are there to protect and serve.
Okay. Totally agree. I do want to read, and we're going to close on it. Let me just read you. I got the incident report from the sheriff department. I was supposed to get a video as well. I'm pretty sure it's going to be that dash cam type thing. And I don't know. I just wanted to see it. I was just curious, but for some reason or another, they got this new system now to where they send you a link and you got to make a password, to be able to view the video footage. And so I'm gonna have to work with them on that because that in itself is problematic, to where people who may not be, technically into this electronic stuff, it could be deemed as a denial.
And I think the one thing, that when you're dealing with so much data, you need to make sure that data is protected. There's privacy rights and that you're not violating anybody's privacy. And so, again, there may be some things that need to be redacted out of that in-car camera footage. So And I think that's I think that's why so many police departments around the country are using technology to where a citizen, when they do request it, they go through and they redact information that is not public, but then produce that information that is public, but also make it to where you don't have to go to the police department to get a copy of a thumb drive or something. You can just, they'll send you a link. You can, it's a secured link. You can click on that link and you can view the information that they send out related to to whether it's body camera footage or in-car camera footage.
But all right. And again, let me just read this here for you, this incident report, and you tell me what you think of it. Now,
Okay.
the reason I want to read this incident report is because I got some problems with it. This officer, I don't know if he wrote the report or whom, but he gave reasons as to why he pulled his taser and why he pulled his gun. No,
Okay.
he gave reason why he pulled his gun. He stated that he had his taser, had his gun out or taser. Let me just read it.
Okay.
It's not 2 paragraphs.
Okay.
It say on April the 18th, 2026 at approximately 10:48 p.m., I, Deputy P. Johnson, the 4th, and Sergeant S. Van Dyke had finished helping Arkansas State Police with a sobriety checkpoint with officers from Osceola Police Department, stated that they were at the Jordans in Osceola, Arkansas with a male who had a gun. Upon arrival, Sergeant Van Dyke and I went to speak to the Osceola officers on scene. However, at the same time, a white Dodge Charger pulled it into the gas station and began to park on the pump near us. Due to this, Officer Quay with Osceola Police Department stated that the driver of the Charger had felony warrants and told him to stop. At this time, the Charger began to bag up. Officer Quay stated that he was going to run. The Charger was stopped it from bagging up due to another pedestrian car. This allowed Sergeant Van Dyke and I to move our patrol unit in front of and behind the white Charger. I then exit my patrol car and moved it to the driver's side of the Charger. At this time, Osceola officers were ordering the driver to turn the Charger off and exit the vehicle. Due to this, I pulled it out my taser. Okay, he pulled it out his taser. Due to the officer, let me go back. He said the driver began to roll up his window. Due to this, I switched it to my department issue firearm. Officer Quay approached the driver door with me. At this time, I hit the window and told the driver to roll it down. The driver rolled the window back down and I grabbed the inside door arm and Officer Quay put the Charger in park. Once this was done, Officer Quay and I pulled the individual out and then took the male into their custody and transported him to their police department. The Charger was searched after the arrest. However, nothing of interest was located and Osceola towed the vehicle away. Last sentence. After the incident, I was able to get the driver's information. The driver was Courtney D. Holmes out of Osceola, Arkansas. A use of force report was completed. Reference number 2026-0035. Now, I tell you, we always hear where officers have a split second to react. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, if we believe his story, where he said he initially had his taser out first,
Correct. Okay.
until he began to see the car begin to move like it was finna run, and that's when he uh, took out his
Firearm.
gun.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't know. So your thought on that? I mean,
Well, and this is why I go back to having some kind of body worn camera footage or in car camera footage, video footage that would actually back up the officer's report.
Right.
What he wrote in the report.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but we didn't hear nothing in the report about Boa and I'll shoot and kill you and all that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and this is the one thing that like I said earlier, Mr. Hollis, is that this is a very dangerous job. We see officers being shot in the line of duty all the time.
Oh yeah, by all means.
And so there's always this heightened awareness that you don't know what a person may have in a vehicle. And apparently, some other officers said that this person had some type of a felony warrant out for their arrest. But at the same time, again, what is the reason? What is the justification? Not so much reason, but what is the justification for pulling out a firearm on an individual, unless you believe that person is a danger, that person has a weapon in the vehicle, and you need to protect yourself and those around you. And so again, this is why it's very critical that agencies have some type of a video, like I said, body worn camera footage, and I'm going to repeat that over and over again because it is something that is very essential in today's policing, and this actually shows what the officer did and what he didn't do, and that information that officer put in his report can be validated, or you can be saying, well, this is not what the video shows, and again, officers have to make a quick split decision as to what they need to do, but at the same time, you need to make sure that you're following your agency's policies, because that's what is going to come in question when there's an investigation into an incident like that. And actually, I think you may have said he may have put in his report some kind of use of force
Right.
report was conducted. Okay, and obviously a use of force was him pulling out his firearm. And so again, you need to be able to articulate and give a good reason why you felt that there was a need to pull that firearm out on these individuals that were in a car. Again, I just think officers really need to understand the dynamics of what is going on, because there's a lot of people who are afraid, especially black men and black women. They're definitely afraid of what may happen, and because as soon as a gun comes out, everybody's going to say, "I feared for my life."
But did you see how the young black man? I mean, I don't know what he saw, but you can hear it in his voice as if, he was very terrified. He was, he sort of pleaded with the deputy not to shoot him. He didn't have a gun.
Yeah. And again, I think that's why people, especially officers in law enforcement, need to understand that there's a sense that black men have when they encounter the police, is that they are in fear of their life. And you got some officers going to say, I don't see why I didn't do anything. But you need to understand what black men have experienced and what black men are dealing with. And that deputy may say, well, I've never done anything like that. But there again, you have to understand what black men are seeing happening to other black men, and that they can become a victim, another hashtag, like what we saw with George Floyd, Michael Brown, Eric
Right.
Garner, and so many other people. And again, it comes down to being able to approach a vehicle. If that person does have a warrant, you get them out the vehicle, and put them in your vehicle. You determine that they have a warrant or don't have a warrant. and you move on about your business. But again, you have to be able to de-escalate a situation instead of escalating the situation, because I've told officers this all the time. Everybody has a cell phone, and everybody's going to record, and you could be the next viral video on YouTube or TikTok. And so there's a lot of things that you really need to be thinking about, and like you just mentioned, a lot of things happen in a quick second. You have to make decisions in a very quick second. And I'll say this, Mr. Hollis, we've seen officers approach vehicles, and all of a sudden a person appears with a firearm and shoots and kills that officer. And that officer never had the opportunity to pull out his firearm to protect himself. And so that makes so many police officers, not all, but some, very apprehensive as to how they're going to approach a vehicle.
And by all means, and I've said this here, as much as I'm a strong advocate for civil and social justice, but at the same time, I think there are police officers, some have, come and, gone. But I think for the most part, if they're fair, I think they would agree that I support good policing. Okay, I support good policing, and a police officer should have some expectation that when they leave the house in the morning, there should be some expectation to return home.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and again, I think, what everybody kind of misunderstands is that, especially in the black community wants policing, but they want good policing. They want
good
fair.
police.
They want good policing. Yeah. They want fair policing.
Thanks.
And they don't want to see somebody's rights being violated, because that has happened all over the country. And I think for people in my profession to acknowledge that, you need to acknowledge that. And I think when you don't acknowledge that, that just, what is the credibility that you have in your community if you don't acknowledge what people are seeing? Because as this video, this cell phone video shows what happened. Now, somebody can say, well, that really didn't happen. So you're going to tell me we all saw this video footage, but we saw something totally different. And so, again, that's why it's very important to make sure that there's a thorough investigation, that everything was followed, and then you release that information to the public. And now the public knows that you're policing your own self, because I know you've heard the term, and so have so many people out there who's listening to your show. Who is policing the police?
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't feel that we are able or have the capacity to police our own selves. And that's why you've seen so many community groups have come up, and there's some kind of oversight over police departments, because the public just does not trust what police departments should be doing, and that's doing the right thing.
Well, okay. I just wanted to, to speak on this here for a minute. For those of you who just tuning in, I have my special guest on with me, former Chief of Police Virgil Green from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. He's here speaking with us, trying to give the community a better perspective, understanding of, what actually goes into policing, how police interacts with the community. And so it would have been good, as I stated, if I could have had a police officer, that it be the chief, that it be the sheriff. But of course, I never can get them to come on. I have had 3 police officers during this 7-8 years that I've been doing the show. I have had 3 police officers to come on. But for the most part, the chief of police and the sheriff, who are the highest ranking officers for our police and sheriff department, they have always declined. And so I thank you for coming on today, speaking to us, helping us get some type of insight on exactly what goes on within the 4 walls of the color blue, and how they interact with the community.
Again, I'm just going to reiterate, it is really important for law enforcement to be transparent with the public. We go back to, everybody knows the what it says to protect and serve.
Uh-huh.
And I think we've gotten away from that protect and serve mentality. And there has been this mentality over the past several years or decades is just us against them, and it's not us against them. And I
Right.
think again, a lot of it goes back to training. If you don't train police officers according to your policies, especially when it comes to procedural justice, when it comes to making sure that you're not violating somebody's rights, and making sure that you are there um, uh, to protect the community. And
Uh-huh.
everybody has a bad day. Even police officers have a bad day. And I tell officers all the time, you need to remember, just because you're in this uniform and you have a badge and a gun and you have the authority to enforce laws, you could be that person on the other side. And how would you want somebody to treat you? And I've always said, you treat people the way you want to be treated. And I think one of the things is that, I saw in that video that you just saw, the deputy walked up to the vehicle. He's kicking the vehicle. He's telling the driver if he doesn't roll the window down, he's going to break the window.
Right.
I mean, that's very aggressive. And again, why do you need to have that type of aggression towards somebody, even if that person does have a warrant?
Uh-huh.
Unless you have some reason to believe that person is a threat or a danger to you, then you may be able to say, well, now I'm justified in doing what I'm doing. But to walk up to a car, kick the door, and then the person is trying to roll down the window, he's saying he doesn't have a firearm in the car.
Right.
You got a gun pointed at him, so he may think at any moment that gun is going to go off. And so he is in fear of his life, but you're doing, there's a lot of aggression there. You're kicking the door, you're trying to force the window down, and then you're telling him, boy, I'm going to kill you or something like that. I think officers need to understand you have a lot of young black men who don't take kindly for a white person to call them a boy. And
Right.
even me as a black man, I'm not going to walk up to a car and call another black man a boy. I think that's it's very racist. It's very offending.
Yeah. And they have had, there's case law on that. Heard from the circuit courts clean up to the United States Supreme Court on that word alone, boy, how it's degrading to refer to a black man in particular, using that little 3-letter word, boy.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're not gonna walk up to, a white kid and say, "Boy," Again, I just think that there is what happened in that video is a clear sign that you've got a department and officers who do not have a good relationship with the black community. Give an example. I mean, I would have just walked up to the car, asked the person, for their ID, got the person out the vehicle, and ran the person to see if he actually had a warrant. Hey, you got a warrant. You got to go to jail. Very, very calm and very, very smooth. But there again, you have some people who feel the need that they need to insert this level of aggression to get their point across. And you can do that without making a person feel like they're nobody. And again, I just kind of have to go back to, you treat people the way you want to be treated. And in this profession, you signed up to do a job, and that job is to protect and serve, and not your job to judge people. Let the courts and let everybody else do that. Our job is to enforce the laws, and if you have to arrest somebody, you do it with as much dignity and respect as you can without violating somebody's rights.
Okay. Just want to take a little pause and say that I noticed that on my cell phone, we're not live.
You're not
but
live.
I did notice on my software itself, it shows that we are live on Facebook, and so I don't know what's going on. But nevertheless, uh, we gonna roll with the show. I mean, it's I'm pretty sure. Hopefully, they can uh, probably tune into it later. Uh, but I do want
Yeah,
to. I
yeah.
do want to.
I just looked at your Facebook page and it doesn't show that
Okay.
you're on
Yeah.
live. So
Cause I'm looking at it now, and uh, it's showing that uh, I'm in when I try to click on it to go to change it to public, it's not letting me. So I'm probably gonna have to end the show and then go back in, but I don't want to do that.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't want to do that. But
yeah.
I want to show this other quick video. I mean, cause that's the biggest of the show today that we want to talk about. I just wanted to touch base on the incident that happened with this particular police officer, but I do want to close on this here because it's important. I'm hearing that through, and this is hearsay, I'm hearing that in so many words, I don't know who spoke to this deputy who used the boy word and pulled his weapon on these people who posed no threat to him. Uh, from what I'm hearing, is that, you know, I'm just gonna be blunt. No harm done. You know, just watch your language. You know, and I'm paraphrasing here. Okay, it's almost like just watch your language. Don't do that no more. And you know, just watch your language. You know, no
Hmm.
harm done. Now, had you been the sergeant or superior officer for this deputy, uh, what should have been done, or what would you have done had this been one of your deputies?
Well, and like I said earlier, I think one of the main things that I would have done was to gather all the information, see body worn camera footage, in car camera footage, reports, and talk to witnesses, and if there's some kind of cell phone video footage, uh, be able to get that information, and to be able to, then look to see, okay, why did this deputy or this officer pull out his firearm, even pulling out a taser, because now that becomes a use of force report. And so you have to be able to articulate in that report why you felt that there was a need. And if let's just say you go through all of that and you review all that information, let's just say you find, I'm gonna give you two scenarios. Let's say you find that the officer didn't violate, or deputy didn't violate any policies. Is there a need for any kind of training to say, okay, let's just make sure that you understand the procedures when you need to pull out a firearm. Scenario two, let's say you did determine that there was some violation of a policy. What do you do? Is there a pattern where this deputy or this officer has pulled out their firearms on other incidents, and now you're able to go back and say, okay, well, we've got a problem here that you seem to be pulling out your weapon when others are not pulling out their firearms or tasers, and so now here's a violation of a policy. Now we need to look at some remedial training, because all these things need to be documented, because one of the things that's going to happen at some point, Mr. Hollis, and to those who are listening, is that, let's say this officer or deputy gets involved in some kind of use of force incident, and somebody is going to request that officer's training record, that body worn camera footage, and all that information. And if you don't have it, that's going to be a problem. But
But
if
I
you
did, yeah,
but
I
if you
did
do
request
yeah,
all that, and what I'm understanding, I'm not satisfied with the training, because what I understand is that it's nothing like uh, going through that training sometime, like in some of these little mock trials, mock training, if you want to call them, to where you're physically, you know, going through the motions, of what to do, what not to do. A lot of the training that they have, and I would agree that some of that training you can take over the internet. You know, it's kind of like Zoom type thing, but uh, and then they'll give them a little old certificate and sign it and say, you know, they had the training.
Yeah.
And so I have to call the training in question itself. It's not actually to me. I think it's more like sitting in class watching videos.
Well, it can be, and again, I think you know there has to be hands-on training. There has to be remedial training, refresher training. Policies change, laws change, and so you need to make sure that the officers and deputies, everybody has a clear understanding as to what they were trained on. Because again, that somebody if something goes to court, that officer can say, well, I was never trained on that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whose fault is that? You're going to be looking at a training sergeant, or you're going to be looking now the police chief or the sheriff. Somebody is going to be held accountable when that deputy or that officer says, well, I haven't been trained on it. It may have been, 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, and I haven't had any kind of training. So again, it is very important. I can't stress enough that training is so essential, and making sure that training is documented to where you can kind of go back and you can make sure that you've got the proper training records in case, something goes to court to where it helps that officer. Well, not just so much helps him, but it protects that officer to make sure that agency has conducted their annual training. We go to the, agencies go to the range every year to have to requalify with their firearm. We spend a lot of time doing that, but we don't spend a lot of time dealing with policy and procedures. And what is a procedure for pulling out a taser? What is a procedure for pulling out a firearm? Because those two things can be pretty deadly when they're used.
Okay. Well, we're going to wrap this up, but we want to get into speaking about the main topic today, about a video that has went viral as it relates to a young black man who was assaulted by the former chief of police, Bobby Eflin. And so let's show that video, and then we're going to go ahead and do our commentary, QA, or what have you. Since we're not live, we can't take questions, and so I guess it's just you and I. And
well, I don't know if there's a way. Yeah, you can't go live now.
if I break away now, it's break back, and so I don't know why. Every time I can't get my stuff together, for as taking care of that. But let's go up here and show this video, the one that we want to show. Okay.
Okay.
So let's play that now. Let me go back.
That right there is why you're gonna go to jail. You're not gonna talk to me like that. I'm talking to you too.
You can't slap nobody. Oh my God.
We're going to play this one more time.
That right there is why you're gonna go to jail. You're not gonna talk to me like that. I'm talking to you too.
You can't slap nobody. Oh my God.
Okay. So again, let me get rid of this.
That right there is why you're gonna go to jail. You're not gonna talk to me like that. I'm talking to you too.
Oh my God, you can't do that! You can't do that! You can't do that! You can't do that!
Yeah, that was very disturbing.
Okay, so let me turn this off. So so that was that. I wanted to show it a couple of times so we can get a pretty good feel of the environment, what went on out there. That was our ex-police chief, Bobby Coleman. For those of you who don't know him, this is a picture of him right here. Robert Bobby Coleman. Bobby Coleman. I'm thinking about the attorney, Eflin. Excuse me, Bobby Eflin. Bobby Eflin, former police chief of Osceola. Very short. I think it was probably less than 2 weeks, or right at 2 weeks, until he decided to assault a black disabled individual sitting in a wheelchair by slapping him and choking him. And so, so what do you think?
Very disturbing. I think, I've seen that video several times, and I've actually
Right. I think we all done looked at it at least 100 times.
yeah, I've actually even talked about it on my podcast. But again, being no police chief should ever put themselves in a position like he did. And a lot of people will say you can't Monday morning quarterback. He wasn't there. The video speaks for itself.
Right.
I think one of the things was that it sounded like he was pretty upset that the individual in the wheelchair was speaking to him in a manner that he didn't like. At the end of the day, freedom of speech, you got the right to say what you want to say. I may not like it. I can walk away. I can stand there and let you vent all you want. But there was no justification for that former police chief to slap an individual, whether he was in a wheelchair or not in a wheelchair. Being in a wheelchair just made it even more troubling, because here's a handicapped person. He was definitely no threat, other than the fact that whatever he said to the former chief, our chief at the time, he didn't like it, and he's like, "You're not going to talk to me that way," and he slapped him, and then he proceeded to choke him, to put him in a chokehold.
Yeah.
And he realized he just really messed up.
Yeah.
You see him kind of walk away, realize, what did I just do?
Right.
And one of the things that I was trying to see, because I've looked at this video quite a few times, you had mentioned earlier that, a lot of police departments, especially municipal police departments, officers have body worn camera. I really couldn't see, because this was at night, if the officers who were dressed in the darker uniforms, which I'm assuming those must have been Osceola officers, that if they had body worn camera on them. I didn't see that, but that's something that I was looking at, because now you're able to see video footage from those officers' body worn camera, what actually took place, and it actually should be a part of the investigation, because now you're not just the video, the cell phone footage that a person was recording and put out there, but if you got your own officers, they have body worn cameras. Now you're able to see what actually, from different angles, what happened and what was said. But there was just no justification for that chief to slap a handicapped person, then to choke that handicapped person. And I have to say, I think, he did the right thing when he stepped down.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, I read a lot of comments from a lot of stuff on social media where people was demanding that, the mayor terminate this individual. and demanding that this person be charged, be arrested. And I think the one thing that people need to understand is something that you and I have talked about, is that the public needs to understand that there's due process and everything.
Right.
We all have a due process, and apparently the mayor made sure that there were due process. I believe he called for some type of independent review into this incident. And but a couple of days later, the chief ended up resigning from the department. And I think a lot of people felt, well, he got off easy. But again, you have to understand the mayor he doesn't have a lot of authority, as some people would probably assume that he has. But
Talk to us about that. Do the mayor got power to say, go arrest him?
no, the mayor doesn't
Thank
have
you.
that. No, the mayor doesn't have that authority or that power.
No
to tell-
judicial power whatsoever.
No.
The only
mayor-
executive power.
Yeah, he only holds executive power as an elected official, what the people of that municipality elected him to be the mayor. He doesn't have any law enforcement powers,
Right.
and any mayor should definitely stay away from instructing police officers or the police chief to go arrest somebody, because now it becomes
Wouldn't that be an unlawful order? Pretty much what Trump trying to do with his
Well,
Justice Department.
well. And again, now the president he's actually has more a power than a lot of people really know that he has. He knows he has a lot of power, but the president definitely has a lot of executive powers. But a mayor does not have the same executive powers as somebody like the president.
I mean,
And
what
so-
I was saying was that, how we hear so often that it's illegal for sure that Donald Trump cannot give unlawful orders. That's illegal in itself.
Yeah.
Like going
Exactly.
shoot and kill him dead.
Yeah.
That's an unlawful order.
Order. Yeah.
And so, pretty much, we know that Mayor Harris, he don't nearly have the power, if you will, that the president of the United States. But what I'm saying is that we do have our stake in lower level law enforcement agency. They will push so far as much as they feel they can get away with.
Yeah, well, and this is a concern, especially in much smaller municipalities, some rural police departments, where a mayor, if that form of government is a strong mayor form of government, where the mayor will tell a police chief who to hire, who to fire, who to arrest, who not
Right.
to arrest. That mayor is putting himself in a very in a situation that's not legally good, because again, like a mayor can hire a police chief and a mayor can fire a police chief, but you have to have some type of reasoning as to do so. You're still an at-will employee. You're serving at the pleasure of a mayor, but at the same time, you do have employment rights. And a lot of times, a lot of people ignore, you have some elected officials who ignore those employment rights, and officers end up winning, either they get the job back or they got, they make some kind of, settlement. But again, it is, no elected official, whether you're the mayor or city council person, should ever put themselves in a position to tell a police chief what to do, or a police officer what to do or what not to do, not to arrest somebody. Give an example. Let's say, you arrest somebody and that person is well known in the community, and you got let's say hypothetically, you have the president of the bank calls the mayor up and says, yeah, my son was pulled over last night and he got a ticket. I want you to, make the ticket go away. You can't do that. You can't. But you do have people who do it.
All
And
right.
you do have a lot of police chiefs who want to protect their job, and they'll go ahead and they'll do it. But that causes some tension between, you have the executive branch of the local government and the police department. They should be two separate entities.
Right. You
And
know.
so, but there again, if let's just say you have somebody, the police chief, who does something that he's not supposed to do, or a police officer, now you've got the executive branch of the municipal government is to make sure that the agency's policies are followed.
Hmm.
And so, but there again, yeah, it's. I think a lot of people, would probably assume that the mayor of Osceola should have done more, but there again, he was making sure that he gave this chief due right, you know, the right to due process. And let's just say the chief decided he wasn't going to resign. Now that would have put the mayor in a situation as to take other employment actions. But there again, people need to understand that you just can't walk up. You can, but there's definitely going to be some ramifications for just walking up or calling somebody saying, "Hey, I'm firing you, and you need to clear out your office," or whatever it may be. But you have to make sure that you're following that due process and giving that person the ability to rebuttal whatever complaints that may have been brought against them.
So, back to just backing up for a minute, I just want to be perfectly clear. In terms of this police chief being allowed to resign, as opposed to, say, the mayor just out flat terminating him, what you're saying is that the mayor was looking down the road in terms of what is the possibilities of the city facing a lawsuit if it is determined that due process was not carried out.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm not speaking for the mayor. I don't even know the
Right.
mayor, but I'm
I'm
just
just trying to
giving,
get
yeah,
the,
I'm just giving you
process.
my opinion, being a police chief, like I said, over 26 years, knowing, laws in Arkansas, knowing every laws are different from state to state, but pretty much they kind of mirror each other. But the one thing that I will say, because I've even been in a position myself to where you need to make sure that you are following proper procedures. And you have a term that's often used, cross your I's, dot your T's. Make sure you got everything right. Make sure that when you do make a final decision, that it is that legally you've done everything that you were supposed to do. And like I said, I'm not in the mayor's. I don't, like I said, I don't know him, but I'm pretty sure he was probably looking at, you know, uh, what can he do? He knows he has the authority to. He's the one who hired him. He has the authority to terminate his employment. But in a situation like this here, where you've got a video that has went viral, not just here in the United States, but around the country, a lot of people are looking to see what's going to happen. And I'm pretty sure a city attorney probably is giving him legal advice. He's probably getting other advice from other people as to how he should handle it. And again, I did see
And we
news
don't want to
report.
be dismissive of the citizens in terms of what was their desires to see this chief fired. I mean, rightfully
Yeah,
so. I mean,
yeah,
rightfully
yeah,
so.
yeah,
But at the same time, we just first of all, there must be due process.
exactly.
Okay, there must be due process, and the mayor can only act within his executive power.
Yeah, he can only
He
act in
has
his.
no judicial power to demand that his assistant chief uh, fire or arrest. I mean, excuse me, arrest in charge. Well, they can't really file charges, but make an arrest up on the former police chief when he already done stated. He's calling in a independent review.
Yeah.
And how would that look? He calling in the independent review. Pending the independent review, we still got folks want the mayor to have him arrested.
Yeah, you need to let you need to let the independent review, that investigation, that review, uh, whatever that is, you need to let that process play, be fully investigated. And once that information is investigated, and now that information is given to the mayor, and the mayor determines what other action he's going to take. But apparently, this individual had turned in his resignation a couple of days later, which to me was the right thing to do. But you still have, you probably do have some people who are upset with the mayor. And you got to ask, why are you upset with the mayor when the mayor can only do so much? And
Right.
again, let's just say, I think I saw a news where the mayor was interviewed, and he said once he saw the video, he was extremely upset about it. Now, let's just say he would have, after seeing that, he would have called an emergency meeting and met with the chief and said, hey, I'm terminating you. Okay, well, you don't, what's all the facts? We saw what the video showed, okay, but is there additional information that you need? Because let's just say this chief could have came back and said, well, you didn't give me an opportunity to tell my side of the story. You just rushed to judgment. Was it based on race? This was a black person and I'm a white man. Anything could happen. And so there's a lot of things that, and I'm not dismissing what the public, how they felt, but I would say I think a lot of people need to understand that there is a process that you need to follow. And if you follow that process, it's protecting the city from any potential lawsuits that may happen.
Is there a responsibility on the interim chief in terms of having a what do you call quiet in the storm moment? Because people are still upset about this. So
I can imagine. Yeah.
And so I'm just thinking from an assistant chief perspective. Is there anything that he can do or should do in terms of trying to bridge the gap when it comes to police and community relations in terms of trust?
Yeah, well, and again, it depends on what kind of relationship this person had with the community before he became the interim chief. And again, is he somebody that the black community trusts? Is he somebody that has a relationship with the black community? But the main thing is that after this has happened, you definitely need to be meeting with key stakeholders in the community. And to assure them that the department is there to be fair and impartial, and that you are going to, as the interim chief until they hire a new chief, that you're going to make sure that officers are following the policies of that department, and you're going to make sure that they are not out violating people's rights. But again, you definitely need to be meeting with the community, every stakeholder, whether that's the clergy in the community. When I say clergy, I mean pastors in the community, meeting with other, meeting with the NAACP, meeting with just anybody who you can talk to let them know that this is what you are doing while you are serving as the interim police chief. Because again, you need to rebuild the trust of the public. And I'll even say this, Mr. Hollison, I think, a lot of people are looking, who's going to be the next police chief? And that next police chief is going to have to rebuild the trust of that community. And that's going to take some time. It's not going to happen in a couple of months. It's going to take some years to rebuild the trust of that community there in Osceola.
Now, I got up on the screen there.
Yeah, duty to intervene.
Duty to intervene and de-escalate. Okay. Now, the incident that occurred with the slap, okay?
Yeah.
What I want to ask is this here. Do you feel that the other police officers out there, based on what we all saw with our own eyes, could you please explain to me why did they not grab the police chief, but they felt some need to restrain a man in a wheelchair who had already been slapped and then proceeding that to be choked? So
Yeah.
why would they put their hands on the man who's sitting in the wheelchair as opposed to intervening, grabbing the chief and say, whoa, whoa. But thank God that the chief came to his senses
Yeah.
to where he like, oh, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And but
Well,
still,
yeah.
I would say that don't excuse their duty, because that's the law.
Yeah.
Duty to intervene.
Yeah. There is.
You know.
Yeah.
And
There
so
is. Yeah.
should these officers also face some type of disciplinary I'm not saying they should be fired, but shouldn't they face some type of disciplinary if you will, because it's almost like they didn't pay any attention to the policies and training.
Yeah. So I'll say two things. The discipline comes after, if there's any kind of discipline, comes after the investigation. This is why it is so important for agencies to conduct, number one, to have an internal affairs division within your police department, a professional standard division within your police department, somebody who has been trained to conduct these internal affairs investigation, and to have to be impartial, not to be biased, and not to show favoritism. And so when you have a policy that says there's a duty to intervene, did those officers follow the policy? And I'm assuming that when this happened, Mr. Hollison, to the listeners, is that how many officers are going to go up to a police chief and say, oh, wait a second, chief, no, you can't do that. I think they're probably worried about their jobs, but they're
Right.
again,
Yeah, I understand.
now, this is something that I've talked about on my podcast. There was an incident that happened in Florida a couple years ago where a sergeant pulled up on some officers who had arrested a black male. He wasn't being very cooperative, trying to get in the car. This sergeant, he was already handcuffed. Now, remind you, this individual is handcuffed, sitting in the back seat of a car, but he's still, doing a lot of talking. The sergeant gets there and he gets in the back seat and he actually starts to get very aggressive with this black male who's already handcuffed. Okay. A white female officer reached and grabbed the sergeant and pulled him out of the vehicle. He is taller than she is. She's probably 5'5" or 5'6", and this guy's probably 6 feet tall. He turns around and he chokes her. He grabs her by her neck and he chokes her.
I think I saw it.
And he tells her, "Don't you ever put
At least I saw something like that.
Yeah, don't you ever put your effing hands on me again." Mm-hmm. Now, she intervened because she saw that she needed to intervene to remove him to de-escalate the situation. She was the only one who did so. You got all these other male officers, all these other female officers who did not do anything. Now, that sergeant, I think he was like an 18-year, almost a 20-year veteran of that department. He was suspended. Then he ended up being criminally charged with assault and battery on the police officer. But she did the right thing. She intervened to pull that sergeant out of that situation. And so we need to make sure that officers know that when they do intervene, that there is no consequences that they're going to receive from their administration because they de-escalated the situation and just didn't stand there and watch something unfold that they could have prevented.
But all right, look like we done covered a lot for his 2 episodes, two incidents that occurred in the city of Osceola. And I tell you, it's been time been well spent, chopping it up with you,
Oh yeah, always,
stopping
always.
by, speaking to us about, you know, policing itself, your experiences, what you bring uh, to the communities, you know,
Well,
and it's a plus. That's what I
it,
needed. I needed someone, and I'm sorry I couldn't get anyone here uh, to
well,
come on to the show to speak to us. And I want to thank you very much
yeah.
for stopping by.
Yeah, well, and I think it's really important. I think people need to understand. You just need to be transparent. I mean, there shouldn't be any reason for anybody. And I'm speaking for myself, and I'm
Hmm.
gonna say this. And I think the one thing is that when you decline to come on a show like yours or anybody else's, or even you know talk to people about things that may be uncomfortable, you got to ask yourself, do you really deserve to be in that position? Because you're going to be put in an uncomfortable situation. But when you're transparent with the public, number one, you're earning people's trust.
Hmm.
Number two, you're earning people's trust. You cannot do this job and not have the trust of the people. And that means everybody, whether you're black, white, whatever race you are, you need to be able to, people need to know that they can trust you. And so when you don't make yourself available to come on a podcast and talk about things that have occurred in your community, people, how can they really trust you? And
Hmm.
so again, I've always said you got to be transparent. You got to build that trust, uh, because we exist, and this is what a lot of people fail to realize. If they do realize it, they don't say it, Mr. Hollis. We exist because of you. We exist because of the community, and we're there to do the job, to protect and serve. Yeah, there are bad people out there committing crimes, but for the most part, you have a lot of people who are not committing crimes. But when they need the police, they want to be able to make sure that the police is going to be fair, uh, and that they're not going to be any biases, just based on a person's race. And so again, I think a lot of people need to really get more engaged and involved in their communities when it comes to policing, and just make sure that everybody is being held accountable. Because at the end of the day, people will always say, "Well, my taxpayer dollars is paying your salary." Well, you're true, but you're right. But at the same time, are you using your voice in a positive way to bring about change?
Right.
And like you, I mean, you're using your voice in a positive way to bring about change and to raise awareness as to what's going on in the communities that you represent.
Yeah. Well, I try to be fair. I just hope I don't end up like, we got a podcaster here, I think down on the northwest end of the state in Arkansas. Uh, I think from what I understand, he's being punished for his speech. He's pretty much podcaster just like I am.
Oh,
Uh,
are you
yeah,
talking about I think are you talking about the gentleman who I think ran for sheriff
yeah. I think he did run for
down
sheriff.
down in
I think his last name Cannon. Cannon, I believe.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Mark Cannon. Mark
Yeah,
Cannon. Yeah,
and
he's somebody that I don't personally know him. When I was a police chief in Arkansas, a lot of people gave Helena, West Helena, a bad rap, and one of the things that I did while I was there was to rebuild the trust of the community, and to let people know that, yeah, what happened in the past, that's in the past, but that's not going to happen with me as being a
yeah,
police chief. And I think he kind of had some some run-ins with some police officers there, but at the same time, again, my job is to earn your respect and not to make you dislike me. And I think that's what a lot of people need to do. But yeah,
right.
I do know who you're talking about, and yeah, he's kind of found himself on
Yeah.
on the different side of things, but he's definitely an advocate for holding
Right.
police accountable.
Yeah. He got a good show that he do. You know, I always say that I need more people that do what you and I do and others. I mean, there's more than enough room to go around,
Yeah,
to serve the community, at large or what have you. And and I'm going to be watching this case, his arrest, because, like I say, I do have a vested interest in this. I am a podcaster, and so I don't get all the facts. Matter of fact, I hadn't even got a portion of the facts. I'm just hearing that there was some, according to what has been reported, was that he made some claims about a gun.
in a jail cell, in a jail
Yeah,
cell. Yeah,
and so they say that caused a lot of panic. Where they had to, do some things for as whatever they do there when they get one of these emergency type situations like that. You pretty much know better than I.
yeah,
But they said it cost them. I guess it cost them manpower hours, along with doing some other things, of course, that was unnecessary. And
correct.
but he claimed that there was a gun. He said just because they didn't find a gun does not mean it was not a gun.
Yeah,
And so, but I'm the kind of person, when folks come to me and with allegations or what have you, uh, first of all, I'm gonna fact find you, like, I mean, like out of my behind. I'm gonna fact check. I'm gonna fact check you.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, even as how good it may sound, I'm gonna fact check you. Because at the end of the day, it's about protecting your own butt.
yeah. It is. Well,
Yeah.
and this is something that I think I shared this with you before. Um, this all starts with accountability.
Right.
And there's accountability well before you get into a courtroom.
Hmm.
And so it start in because it starts with what the community is willing to accept. In this situation, in these two situations that we've talked about tonight, the
Hmm.
incident with the deputy at the store, and
Right.
then the former police chief slapping the handicapped person. It also accountability starts well before even it gets in the hands of a prosecutor. What is the accountability? Who's going to hold these individuals accountable? And is the community going to demand accountability? And if the community is not going to stand up and ask questions, if you got local pastors who have a voice in the community, if they're not standing up and asking, hey, what's going on, then people are going to say, well, hey, they really don't care. And so you need to have people who have some influence in these communities to speak up and hold people accountable. Because that's the only way things are going to change, Mr. Hollis,
Right.
is to hold people in these positions accountable and to build that trust.
Sound good. Well, this, like I say, time has been well spent. I'm gonna have to get out and make a run myself.
All
But
right. Well,
again, I
listen.
want to thank you for coming by. I think you pretty much already have seen this here, but this is the statue that I was sharing with you. I know we've been talking a lot about, uh, assault and battery, okay? But there's another component to this here that we're not even talking about. And this was the victim, that is. The victim was a person who fit the description of a person who is said to be impaired, okay, with a physical or a mental disability. And there are laws against that. And this is the statute here. And I want everyone to really take a good look at this statute, read it. I mean, so if the prosecutor or whoever's doing this investigation come back and tell you that, it does not fit the statute of assault and battery, okay, but did you consider 528-103 state law, criminal penalties for abuse of or endanger impaired persons, criminal penalties for abuse of and endangered or impaired persons. And these charges can go anywhere from a Class B misdemeanor, or they can be upgraded to a Class D felony. And so this is something else that we need to be having conversations with, whether we calling, whether we doing some texting or what have you, to the prosecutor's office. You know, this statute here has to be talked about, and at the same time, and I'm glad I thought about it. We keep hearing about independent investigation. Anytime we hear that, mostly that's something that the law enforcement gonna handle,
Yeah.
for as an investigator,
Yeah.
prosecutor, or what have you. But the other component that we don't talk about in this investigation, as it relates to this law, DHS also supposed to do an investigation. Do you hear me?
Yeah, you said DHS, the Department of Human Services. Yeah.
Yeah. They also, I mean, the law requires them also to do an investigation. Now, see, had this, and that's why it's important. You see, if we just looking at assault and battery, okay? Let's just say we're just looking at assault and battery. If we're just looking at assault and battery, then DHS really has no place in this unless they take it upon themselves to do a report. I mean, excuse me, to do an investigation. But now we're looking at two investigations. We got one should be done by this independent, I imagine it's a prosecutor or someone. There need to be an investigation from this prosecutor, and there also should be an investigation from DHS. Now, I would like to see those two investigations come back. My question is, how would they look?
Yeah. Well, and I'll say this, and I think the one thing that, like I said earlier, it's all about accountability and holding every branch of the government accountable, and to conduct a thorough investigation. When you tell people that there's not going to be an investigation, or you just don't say anything and just hoping people will, it'll go away and nobody is going to think about it in a month or 2 months. That's not justice for the community. And again, conduct a thorough investigation. Let the public know this is what happened, and if you didn't find any criminal intent, then you let the public know that. But if you did find criminal intent, then you let the public know that. Again, nobody is above the law. No prosecutor is above the law. No police chief is above the law. No mayor is above the law. No police officer is above the law. Everybody needs to be held accountable for the positions that they're held in. And if that means making a tough decision to charge a former police chief, or charge a police officer, or to charge a mayor with a crime, that's the duty of that elected prosecutor to do. But it is also upon the duty of that individual to fully investigate and to be transparent with the public. And I think that's what people want to know. Because if you don't do anything or say anything, you're leaving so much open for people to speculate and to come to their own conclusions as to why you're not doing it. Because the one thing that we haven't really talked about, and we've been talking about a lot, Mr. Hollis, and I know we're getting ready to get off, is that the fact that this was a white man who slapped a black man who was handicapped in a wheelchair.
Right.
This was a white police chief who slapped a black man in a wheelchair. And you got people who look like you and me, and just because I'm a police chief, I will sit there. You have to ask yourself this question. If that was a black police chief slapping a white man in a wheelchair, what do you think would have happened?
Oh, man. The whole state would be in an uproar.
People would definitely speculate and say that chief would have been fired, if not that night, the very next day. But again,
And I think that's why the public is so
You've got,
outraged about it.
yeah, because you've got people, race is involved with this here, and
Oh yeah, by
nobody
all means.
nobody is trying to calm the tension down when it comes to race. Even in the situation with the deputy pulling the gun out on the black guy and the white lady in the vehicle at the store. You got a white police chief who slapped a black man. It's been seen millions of times around the United States and outside of United. It's a viral video.
Exactly.
How can you cannot justify and ignore that a white man slapped a handicapped person, whether he was handicapped or not. It just makes it even much more concerning that this person has a physical disability, but nobody is being held accountable. And again, I just think that's where you have to. This is where the community comes in, and to say we need to have some closure to what happened.
Hmm.
I mean, you're not going to demand that the prosecutor charge the police chief, but you surely can have some influence, positive influence, to say this community deserves a thorough investigation. And if you find charges, that's fine. If you don't, yeah, some people are not going to be happy with it, but at least you did something to show the community that you cared.
Right. Well, been great chopping it up with you. As I say, we covered a lot. I think this, every now and then I have to go ahead and let time have its way in terms of, the extent of the show. As I say, I always try to keep it within an hour, 15 minutes, but sometimes,
You kind of go over.
you have to do what you got to do. And so I think all was said. Hopefully someone will benefit from it and have a clear understanding of exactly what was the process as it started with disciplinary procedure with the mayor. And now what we need to do, we need to be looking at what kind of police chief are we seeking, because we still need a police chief. Okay. And next thing is, as you stated earlier, there need to be accountability.
Yeah.
We all witnessed a young man being slapped and
Sure.
humiliated.
Yeah.
We witnessed that.
Yeah.
That's no hearsay. We witnessed that. But now the question is, should the officer face some type of disciplinary procedure? And to do that, there must be a thorough investigation, and we need to be transparent with the people. We don't even know who's doing the investigation.
Yeah.
We don't even know, and that in itself may be a violation against the Freedom of Information Act, because I ought to be able to call to whether it's the mayor's office or whether it's the prosecutor's office or whether it's the attorney general's office. I ought to be able to call one of those entities, okay? And someone ought to be able to tell me who's the law agent, if you will, that is conducting this internal review.
Exactly.
Or independent review, excuse me.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, like I just said, it goes back to accountability. It goes back to trust. The public is expecting some type of outcome, and they want to trust that the process is going to be fair and impartial, and not just to say, well, hey, here's a police officer who a police chief who got treated with some privileges, and look what happened to the
I'll put that up there.
to the black man who where is his rights, where is his privileges at? And so again, don't make it about in order to make this not about race, you got some people who really need to and should have already stepped up and said, okay, we're going to conduct a thorough investigation, because again, everybody has seen this.
Right.
And everybody has come to their own conclusion, but you haven't really heard anything from any other law enforcement or judicial branch to let the public know this is what happened,
Yeah.
and this is the outcome of the uh, investigation. I do know. I think I did read something where the Arkansas State Police stated that they declined to even investigate it. Again, I'm pretty sure that didn't sit well with a lot of people. But again, why? I mean, the public is asking questions, and I think the one thing that a lot of people in law enforcement don't do is a good. You don't do a good job of explaining the why. You leave so much out there for people to interpret, and now that just erodes at the trust that especially the black community has against the police, as well as against the judicial system and judges.
Well, all right. Well, on that note, I'm gonna give you the last. Make that be the last word, and I'm gonna go and try to get me a bite to eat. And
All right.
and I want to say, anytime you need me to sit in and chop it up with you and your co-host, is it Chief Humphrey?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we started a podcast about actually. It's been 6 years that we started You and the Law podcast, and it's a weekly podcast. Me and the former police chief of Little Rock, we started this podcast, and about a year ago, he decided that he was going to take a break from.
Hmm. Uh-huh.
And again, we're two black men, now just you know in law enforcement, and I think it's really important for people to hear the voices of black men and black women who are in leadership positions, because you don't see a lot of us in police chief positions,
Right.
but people really need to. You really need to get that respect of people. So yeah, we do have. I do have a weekly podcast. It comes on every Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's called You and the Law Podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast. You can go to our
Right.
website, which is www.youandthelaw.
All right. I do tune in, even if I don't say anything. I do tune in. Sometime I'll leave a comment, or what have you. And like I say, you guys doing a wonderful community work there throughout. I guess this whole dirty South, as they call it, Oklahoma, Arkansas. You done went out in the middle part of the country, Minneapolis, and so yeah. Thank you for your services.
All right, thank you. It's always a pleasure to come on your show.
All right. Peace and love.
All right, you have a good
All
one.
right. All right. You too. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was my guest, Mr. Virgil Green, who stopped by and chopped it up with me. We trying to get some understanding out of exactly what went on with the incidents in Oak Hill, Arkansas. We cover two shows, killed two birds with one stone. That's what we did. We killed two birds with one stone. And so we covered the incident with the young black man and the young black woman out at the gas station, Jordan, to where they were approached by a sheriff deputy, guns drew on them, put them face down, racial slurs was made uh, uh, in reference to boy, I shoot, kill you, boy, or something to that effect. Uh, it was just very horrific, scene that they went through, experience that they had. And so we talked about that. There should be some internal review in that case. And I'm not gonna hold my breath. I don't think there is one going on now, and I don't think there will be one going on in terms of what happened out there at the Jordan gas station. Okay, but I do want to say that going forward, I hope that you all would get with some community group there in Osceola. There is a gentleman, Dre Clark. He's one that have reached out to me. I think he may be working with Mary Jones down in Osceola. They may be doing some things together, trying to keep some light or keep this story alive, calling for accountability. And so hopefully, you all can get with them. And I do want to say this here for those of you who didn't see it. I do want to say, I want to add it to my screen first. Let me go up here and add it. It's got me covered up right now. And I don't want that. So I tell you what, let me go over here to this screen and let me do it that way. Okay. So let me do it that way. Okay. Now, I got this law up here that we was talking about, and I want to share it with you all as well. Okay. I can't get this thing off. Let me do this here. I'm trying to get some of this stuff off where I can show you what I want to show you. Okay. But anyway, let me just do this here. Let me just do this. This is the statue that I was wanted to put on screen. Now I know we've been talking a lot about assault and battery. Okay. But also assault and battery, that is an investigation that is going to be conducted by the police or the prosecutor. Okay. They're going to do their investigations and determine if there was any policies or in some cases statutory law. I imagine they looking at them both to where they can hold this police chief accountable if need be. But that's on the police prosecution side. But this law that you're looking at now, 528-101, this also calls for an internal investigation. And the police department will not be doing this one, okay? They will not be doing this one. The people that will be doing this investigation will be the people from the, DHS? DHS will be conducting this investigation, all right? That's who will be conducting this investigation, DHS. And so I wanted you all to know that, all right? I wanted you all to know that. DHS will be the one conducting this investigation, all right? And so please talk to your representative. Please do call the number that I was trying to get you all to call, the prosecutor number that is. I'll put it back up here again and then let you all look at it. Demand the prosecutor file criminal charges. Okay? We don't need, I know they're going through the process and everything for internal review, internal investigation, but we need for her also to consider this statute, that this young man do fit that group or this statute, an impaired person. An impaired person is an individual who has an impairment, or shall I say, who has a disability. And that disability is either physical or or mentally, okay, they qualify for this protection. This statute was specifically passed by the legislators to protect those who need it the most. And we're talking about people with a mental and a physical disability. Okay, so I want to blow this up a little bit for you all and let you all get a good look at it. I want you all to write that down. Arkansas statutory law 5-28-103. That's the statute. This where it gives the criminal penalties for abuse of an endangered or impaired person. Okay? That's what this statute does. It protects those people who need it the most. And we're talking about people with some form of disability, that it be mentally or that it be physically. Okay? These charges can be assessed for a person who commit these this wrongdoing or crimes. The charges can go anywhere from a Class B misdemeanor or upgraded to a Class D felony. Okay? The purpose of the law, again, is to protect the less vulnerable. No one, you hear me? I say no one is above the law. You all that who hung around, we did have a long show. Like I said, we covered 2 incidents. Stay with me, bear with me as I try to get my show rolled out. I just been had so much going on, y'all. I just can't keep a steady schedule. Okay, but again, please do step up and be part of the efforts in terms of holding all law enforcement, all city, county, state officials as well. Let's hold them to account. No one is above the law. Again, want you all to come out on May the May the 2nd, I believe. I had it down somewhere around here. Well, there's going to be a community meeting. Well, not a community meeting, a town hall meeting. I done lost it. I was going to give you the dates. See, oh yes, I have it right here. Again, please come to the town hall meeting. There's going to be 2 meetings, okay? One for Blytheville, Arkansas. This is Michael Middlebrooks, who's running for Representative District 34. Wanted me to share with you all that there's going to be 2 meetings, town hall meetings. One in Blytheville. It would be at 200 North 5th Street. Okay, 200 North 5th Street here in Blytheville, from 12 o'clock noon to 1:30 p.m. And that same day, there will be another meeting in Oak Hill, Arkansas, 6 o'clock p.m. to 7:30 p.m. And it will be at Circle the Restaurant on 100 East Main, Oak Hill, Arkansas. I want to say peace and love. And I want to say, may you all have a blessed and remaining night. And until then, I want to say God bless. Peace and love. help me get my numbers up for a subscription, being a subscriber, excuse me. And I'll be at one of the other places. Catch me on Facebook or catch me on YouTube's, okay? And so, again, enjoy.